Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm top music attorney, Miss Krystle, and we took a little break for Thanksgiving, but we're back now. It's you and me and you. It's time to get wild and learn all about the music business. This is what I do all the time. I'm a full-time entertainment attorney. I have a law firm, and a big part of my not just interest, expertise, but my passion is music and music business. So I got you guys covered. We are live streaming on all the places, and we have a cool show for you today. But you know what? I like how I have my mic like pointed to the heavens. We need to capture the heavens and not me. Here we go. We are adjusting. Hi guys, as you are filing in the chat, let us know where you're checking in from. What time is it? Hey, what's up, Chris? Chris, you're helping me out on the live streams lately. I appreciate you. You are fantastic. So we have trouble in paradise. All right, we have trouble in paradise when it comes to the Hall & Oates conglomerate and finally falling a little bit out of harmony and grace. And so we're going to talk about what's going on, and I might even go through the court filings, of which I have for you guys today. So as you guys are filing in, let me know where you're checking in from, what time is it, and how was your Thanksgiving if you're here in the States. All right, so wherever you guys are watching, come over to Top Music Attorney on YouTube. This is the hub, and we love you everywhere, but definitely come over here because we release videos every couple of days helping you with your career for free. And then if you are more of the kind of person that likes to listen, I got you covered there. So listen to the old podcast. You can listen to the podcast while you're having your cup of tea. This is what's happening today. This is where we're at. I essentially have like a bowl. I have a bowl in front of me. It's really hot. It's really hot. So we're gonna hold off there. Hey, what's up, fam? All right, checking in, UK, 1 a.m. Cool Gamer in the house. Yes, Eric, El Paso, 6 p.m. Nice, nice, nice. All right, so and also with the newsletter, let's make sure you get on that, okay? Go get on the newsletter so that you can get all the great emails and the free giveaways and all the things that happen on Top Music Attorney, and we have that linked for you. We have that linked for you in the description of wherever you're listening. And if not, come over to Top Music Attorney on YouTube. All right. If you follow instructions, good things happen. So anyway, guys, hope you're all doing good. Yes, this is in fact a very large mug of tea. I'm on day 7 of my coffee. What is wrong with me cleanse. I seem to do this every couple of months, and I get so far, and I eventually crack. And today I cracked. I didn't break, but I cracked. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I have the coffee. It's going to be such a day. And I ended up having decaf. I know there's a little caffeine in the decaf. So, it was a concession. We didn't break though. So we're on day 7. It's all a good thing. So guys, we're going to the show just a little bit different. We're talking about Hall & Oates, their legal battle. We're talking about Mike Tyson, and he's just beating people up, on planes. Which makes me I'm watching this video. We're going to watch it together later in the show, but I'm watching this video and I'm like, it really makes me want to be a man. It makes me really want to, change my anatomy, my biology. And I don't know. It'd be cool to be tough, that tough. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So we're going to watch Monster here in a video or in a minute. It's been a day. We're going to watch Monster. It's going to be fantastic. Monster's my new song, and the music video came out just a bit ago, and you guys have been so nice, and you've been helping me out with just, blowing up the comments, the likes on this video, the views, everything's going great. But besides any of that, you seem to really dig the video, and it just means so much to me. I love this video. So we'll be talking. We'll bring that Orko in after we play the video. We're talking about ways to make money in the industry as an artist. So we got you covered tonight. So I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and watch Monster. And then I think I missed that, but there was a Monster merch. Yeah, there we go. So Monster is available on all streaming platforms. You can listen, and you should. And if you listen on Spotify, don't forget to add it to your liked PlayStation. Why do I always say PlayStation? I don't even know. Playlist. And the way you like it is just you hit the plus. So do that. It helps me out. Why not? All right. So let's watch the video and we'll be back.
Darkness falling, all is quiet and soothing, seducing. Feel your heartbeat pounding, hunger starts growing, controlling all of my obsession. Found all this aggression, go on and taste it. You've got my blessing, burning with suspicion, deadly premonition, blazing inferno.
Hey, so that's Monster music video. I'm so proud of that video. It was in my brain for something like a year and a half, and I wrote the treatment, and then it was just trying to figure out how to make it happen and how to make it come to life. And so obviously there was a lot involved with that as far as fight scenes and, you know, special effects and figuring out locations and how to execute on everything. So I'm really proud of that. And, you know, be right back. Yes. Yes. I won't be right back. My producer's going to be right back. So, yes, all is well. And I appreciate all the love. I appreciate you guys definitely coming over on Miss Krystle YouTube and supporting the actual video there, leaving comments, doing all the things. All right. So let's check in. What's good, guys? Let's see. So we weren't here last week because we had Thanksgiving. I took a little bit of a break, spent some time with family. I definitely usually work through the holidays, and it takes everything in me to not message my team at all hours of all days, including holidays. And they'll attest to this. I'm the person on weekends where I'm like, hey, I had this idea. Hey, getting back to you on all these notes. because, I work during the week. And so weekends and holidays are my time to really get caught up and to daydream about all the things I want to do. And then so it takes everything in me to not send the email. Or what I do is I send the email, but I schedule it. I go, I'm sending it today on Thanksgiving, but you're going to get it, Monday. You're going to get it tomorrow. So I'm sneaky like that. All right, that's right. Oh my gosh, is that really the case? Wow, we're almost at 1,000 comments on Monster music video. That's pretty cool. Hey, cool banger and video. Thank you very much. Eric, love the music video. Oh, thank you very much. All right, so on all things, we're going to jump into what's going on in the news. But before we do that, I thought I would just mention, for those of you who are reaching out to work with me, we have a little bit of a process in place for how to do it. So it just allows me to kind of manage all the submissions. And so you can apply. You can go to topmusicattorney.com/apply and just let me know a little bit about what you're doing, what your goals are, because I'm very much looking for people who are kind of like me and they have, a vision of what they're trying to get to, and they have clarity and they just need some help on kind of, navigating and figuring out the blueprint. So you can apply there. You can also just message me on Top Music Attorney on Instagram. Same thing. Let me know a little bit about what you're doing. And then don't forget, of course, setting all that aside, I have a free music business jumpstart guide. And that's on, let's see, I think it's linked in the description of this video. Yes, it's linked in this description of this video. But it's a really good place to start. When I have initial consultations with people, we usually go through what is exactly in this, and it's all free. So you get like a marketing, example and guide and schedule. You get a split sheet for free. You get like a run through of how to kind of think through these things. And so, I did that because I have so many of these conversations, and it's a way for you to get it for free. So anyway, there's all this stuff. Have fun with it. I know some of you are kind of on break mode right now, which, what? That's cool. I get it. But also for those of you who aren't trying to break and, you're gearing up to just smash 2024, I got you. Okay? All right. So here we go. Let's see. That Orko, are you ready? Let's rock and roll. Okay, bringing you in. Here we go.
Hey, shout out to the community. It's good to be back. I know, like, what you're saying.
Your audio is coming in through your computer, I think.
Is it again?
As much as I love it, before you give your wonderful speech,
you're so
unbelievable. I want to make sure we hear you with
probably way better now.
There we go. Okay, so hey,
it's good to be back. Like you were saying, we're definitely in that group of people that don't take holidays off. I don't think that we have ever taken a holiday all the way off before. Usually those days are kind of even reserved for a little more scheduled workflows on those days, I've found, on any kind of holiday.
Yeah, and it's nothing other than just, there's a lot of hours in a day, and it's just, when you're working on stuff that you like and you want to just get a little movement, you know what I'm saying? Just do something. And
and when you're an entrepreneur when you're doing everything yourself, you don't really. That's the one thing I definitely noticed the difference between when I used to clean swimming pools or just having jobs where, I reported at a certain time because I got a work schedule or something. When you are an entrepreneur and you were running your music business full time by yourself and stuff like that, you're working all the time. Like, you are setting your own schedule. So it's kind of like, I always kind of find like time when I'm downtime, I try to take it, but then I find myself getting antsy and still trying to do something at the same time work wise.
Yeah. I don't know. One thing, it's funny. I used to. Do you like how I'm just so casually like, I'm just gonna take a little.
That thing is as big as your head. That mug is as big as your head.
Anyway, yeah. So, anyway, moving on. We have some stories, and I kind of want to start with the Mike Tyson one.
Okay.
So Mike Tyson is not the kind of guy that you probably want to get into a little scuffle with.
Nope.
And he was involved in an incident on a JetBlue flight where he ended up punching another passenger a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
Now we're calling him the victim, and the victim, okay, the other guy, and I say that with implied air quotes because we're going to watch the video on kind of what happened and what led to Mike Tyson doing this. But anyway, so this guy, Melvin Townsend, sends Mike Tyson a demand letter. It's call all kinds of things, but it's a demand letter saying, pay me $450,000 and you can avoid a big fat lawsuit. I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
And, Mike Tyson's attorney laughed and said, okay, yeah, you got nothing. And so anyway, I thought, let's start this by actually watching the video. What happened? And then we'll talk about it just a hair. So let me share this. All right, make sure we share some audio. Here we go.
This is George talking to Mike Tyson, bro. This shit crazy, bro. Mike Tyson.
All right, so he's really close. He's really close. And all I can do before we go, all I can do is just say, if I was in that position and someone was breathing on my scalp, and I think what he's saying, like, you're the boss. No, I'm the boss. And so it sounds like he's kind of sassing Mike
Be a
Tyson.
rapper with Tyson. Mike Tyson trying to give us some shrooms. You don't know how to act. Tyson looking out, man. This shit crazy. He should have never gave you his money.
All right, he's drinking something. I don't know what he's drinking. I don't know if that impacts anything.
Hey.
And here we go.
Hey, Mike, come on. Let's go stop back. Let's do some horse, man.
JetBlue, net flight. My boy just got beat up by Mike Tyson. Turn that way. Yeah, he got.
Right, so that doesn't look good.
Trying to ask for an autograph, man. I don't know what happened.
All right, so the videographer goes, he was just trying to ask for an autograph. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
All right, so like while we're saying this, let's replay the video here. And again, I could just go from proximity of where this guy is, and because Mike Tyson's like a big dude, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a big deal. I don't know. If it was me and someone was breathing down my neck and provoking, doesn't mean you can turn around and punch the snot out of someone.
Yeah, no,
That would be fun, I think. But
it's pretty.
You can't do it.
It's pretty crazy because this JetBlue thing, it happened a year ago. And so after this incident happened, they both had got off the plane. They both spoke to authorities. The guy was treated for non-life threatening injuries, and no charges were ever filed. So, I mean, they dealt with police and stuff at the time. I don't know why charges wouldn't have been filed when there was, obviously an altercation that happened. But Mike Tyson claimed after that it happened, that like the guy was like through like water on him, and then that's what provoked the last straw. Now we don't see that in the video. We just see, the guy just being kind of obnoxious, trying to just bait Mike Tyson. It looked like, from some of the reports, he was talking to him about, like, he was just super excited discussing the marijuana industry and psychedelic mushrooms with him. So he was just yelling like drug comments to him from behind. And
that's why I go back to, okay, we know that at some point, if something happens and people are getting in your space and they're touching you and I don't know if any of this happened, but at the point that you actually assault someone and there's battery and you have thrown something at them, I don't care if it's water or something else, this is an actual legal claim. You can defend yourself. Now, you have to defend yourself with equal force. Was it equal force? Probably not. Okay. So I don't know how much Mike Tyson has a defense here, but equally, I'm like, this kid was drinking something. He's talking about psychedelic drugs.
There was reports on the plane that the guy had seemed drunk, like other passengers when they were, being interviewed. There other people were saying that, he seemed kind of drunk. And, not that this has, one thing or to do with the other, because both of these individuals have the same kind of thing as far as being involved with the law before. This guy has, he's been in jail twice for 20 months and 15 months. He's been convicted. This Townsend has been convicted of fraud, grand theft, burglary, possession of controlled substances, and trafficking in stolen property. So, like, not that has one thing to do with, it doesn't make him just whatever, but, I just from the reports of just fraud and now he's trying to, you hear about these. I remember episodes of like a 90210 one time when Brenda was driving her car and she was at a stoplight and she was kind of looking down the radio and the car behind her hit her. and like to try to cause to cause a car accident, making Brenda think that she caused the car accident. So it's like, is this guy trying to cause a car accident to get some kind of settlement?
Well,
Kind of
so
situation.
is he an ambulance chaser? I actually just got the
Yes.
thought that they were trying to prank him. Because especially with it sounded like it was the friends. First of all, they're like in first class, which I'm like, what are you doing? But anyway, the friends seem to almost be, kind of encouraging this kid in a way and kind of, reacting. He's recording the whole thing. So it almost seemed like a part of it may have been planned that they were trying to provoke because, Mike's known, right, to responding to provocation,
Well,
and he did in this case. It doesn't mean it was the right thing. It doesn't mean,
absolutely
obviously,
not.
that there isn't gonna be a claim that does come, meaning an actual complaint that's filed because he sent a demand. Obviously, this was for something because he sent a demand and said, "Pay me $450,000."
But again, Mike said that he had some water thrown at him or a bottle thrown at him. I don't know what the case is, but I think this is definitely, a case of fuck around and find out. Because, we see a lot of these, prank videos and just let's just go with your, what if they were just kind of trying to see what they could get? Maybe they were trying to get something funny for social media. Maybe they
Right.
were trying to whatever. I don't even know if that guy was even his friend or if he was just another passenger because everyone's got their phones out on a plane and just filming Mike and just happened to be. But um, you know, I don't know what he expected to have happen with all of that. And then the part of the lawsuit also said, or this letter was talking about how Mike had gone on Jimmy Kimmel, and he was talked to about it and said that he was wrong. It never should
He
have
did,
happened.
which,
Uh,
PS,
don't do
admitting
that.
fault later on. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a
That's
letter,
You
there's a
got to be
lawsuit that might
careful.
happen. You gotta be careful about admitting any kind of fault, but, equally, he's a
But
human.
yeah, no, for sure, and, it's just tricky because he even said, "I was wrong" on the Kimmel Show. He actually said, "I was wrong, should
Right.
never happened. That's me back in my primitive child stages, but I was irritated, tired, high, and pissed off. Shit happens." So, I mean, but at the time, maybe he felt like he was okay to do it because no charges were filed. He felt a little comfortable. Maybe he thought that it was over. I don't know, but, just, you definitely gotta be careful. He definitely could have handled it differently. I'm sure he could have just stood up and that might have been enough. But again, Mike Tyson is known for not necessarily he's been trying so hard over the years to keep it mellow. I mean, you see him in interviews and this guy is docile. But
That's right. Dude bought a pencil to a gunfight.
yeah, I can't even imagine going up to Mike Tyson and just having anything but respect as far as my tone of voice that I'm talking to him. I definitely wouldn't. Guy's braver than I am or dumber. I don't know, man.
Yeah, and to this question, can you see the water in the video? No, it's not in
That's
the
the
video.
problem. Yeah.
So that's part of the problem. So whether this escalates into a lawsuit, we don't know, and
He's going
as
for the
far as
shakedown.
as
Cancel
as far
attorney.
as far as injuries, let's talk about that for a second to say, all
Yeah.
right, $450,000. Usually you have to go, well, I had medical bills
Yeah.
from this vicious attack, which is what they're saying. And so from
He
what
lost
I
work.
understand, the physical violence that he had jobs that he had lost,
Yeah.
he had a severe sudden headache and neck pain. He's
No
still
doubt.
suffering, and he quote, he's still suffering the effects of the assault to this day, which is what his attorney is saying. So,
No doubt. I
again,
I
all
believe
of these things not
I
to
believe that.
justify what
Listen, the
Tyson did,
fact
but
that he was still conscious and all basically looking, he just had like scratches on his. I mean, he got hit, but I'm just saying, like, it is amazing that he just didn't just get completely knocked out. So Tyson was definitely pulling punches. It didn't look like it. There's no way he wasn't still pulling his punch. It doesn't make. I'm not trying to defend it. I'm just saying, what do you expect when you're messing with Mike Tyson, man? But yeah, just be careful out there and stop trying to trying to get clout for the gram or for TikTok, man. It's not twerking, man. It's not twerking.
yeah, and David, I'm gonna have to make your line into a shirt for like my law firm or something. Don't bring a pencil to a gunfight. There we go. Okay. So moving on. All right, you want to get into the Hall and Oates?
This
You
is
ready for this?
oh my god, let me stretch it out.
This is a big one, fam. For those of you on Instagram, hey guys, come over to Top Music Attorney on YouTube. We're live right now. Come join the conversation.
You should go ahead and pull up the complaint right now, just so you have it ready on your screen.
All right.
This is a big one. Hall & Oates is one of my favorite bands of all time, so this is kind of upsetting though at the same time. But I love talking about Hall & Oates.
Yeah. All right. So I got it on my side. You ready?
Let's go.
You know what I can't go for? Hall & Oates not getting along. After 50 years of just being like amazing business partners, taking over the planet with one hit after another, now is the time it all falls apart. And so we have Hall & Oates legal battle happening. And I'm going to actually go through the complaint because what was kind of interesting with this was how it was written. Because we actually have, well, actually, I don't want to get into too far. Anyway, it's really good. So we're going to get into that here in a second. But there's a restraining order bond of $50,000 that was filed. And I guess, give me a little overview. What's happening?
Yeah. So, Hall & Oates, the greatest selling musical duo of all time, and just one of the greatest bands of all time. They're going at it because Daryl Hall or John Oates right now is wanting to sell his half of the Whole Oats Enterprises, which is the company that owns Hall & Oates. It's like the merchandising,
Right.
it's the trademark names,
copyright,
the social media, the websites. It's everything that's all inclusive. And he's wanting to sell John Oates is wanting to sell his half of it to Primary Wave, which is a company that buys musical rights for stuff, and he wants to sell it. And I guess he has already somewhere in his contract, in his operating agreement with Daryl Hall, that they have to have permission in order to do any kind of thing.
So let's stop right there. So, and this is pretty common, right? So if two people have a business together, right, and they put together what's called an operating agreement, the operating agreement typically says, which is what theirs says, one side cannot just go and sell their share, because then it would force you to be partners with potentially someone that you don't know, and even worse, someone that you don't like, or someone that doesn't do well as a business partner. And so that's where this whole thing kind of blew up. And so we're going to go through specifically what was filed, what was said. And so I don't know. What do you say? Why don't we just get into it?
Yeah.
All right. So sharing my screen, we have some ads popping up. So Daryl Hall, he, and of course, trustee of the Daryl Hall Revocable Trust. For all those of you watching, this is a really smart thing to do while you're alive. Put all of your assets into a revocable trust, and then you can have it passed down to your heirs after that. Anyway, so he's the claimant, and he is suing a couple of people, right? But of course, this has to do with the attempt to transfer ownership. Now, what he filed is a declaration.
Suing, you'll see on there that it's not just John Oates that he's suing. He's also suing his wife and Richard Flynn, who are trustees of the John Oates stuff.
All right, I'm just making this a little bigger so you guys can hopefully see this. One sec. All right, there we go. So this is a declaration of Daryl Hall in support of claimant's motion for a temporary restraining order. So just for clarification, he is saying, court, I'm asking you to stop, right, what will be this transaction that they're attempting to make to actually sell Oates' share of the partnership. Okay, so that's what the request is, but this is his declaration. So he should have written this, probably with the assistance of his legal counsel, but that's part of why I found this very compelling, because it feels like he really did write this. All right, so he goes, I, Daryl Hall, declare as follows. I'm the sole trustee for my revocable trust, dated April 4th, 2008, which is a partner in the limited liability partnership, Whole Oats Enterprises LLP. And it's co-owned by the respondent, who is John Oates. So unless otherwise indicated, I have personal knowledge. And so all the stuff that I say in this is my sworn testimony, essentially. I submit this declaration in support of the Hall Trust application to temporarily and preliminarily enjoin the Oates Trust from engaging in any further action to transfer or from transferring the Oates Trust partnership into WOE. Again, that's the Whole Oates Enterprises. Yeah, to a third party. Okay, so can't transfer any portion of the company to primary wave. All right. So the unauthorized transaction discussed below and in the accompanying papers submitted herewith are contrary to the express terms of the written operating agreement between, basically, us two. The agreement requires that the other partner has to give and get written approval and the consent before the transfer action can happen. Okay?
Which makes sense.
Which totally makes sense, especially, I mean, look, we talk about, this is I don't know what, $1 billion or close to that,
it's huge.
enterprise.
It's huge. I mean, they still tour on and off. I mean, they kind of had their, have had their little things, and Daryl Hall is just very clear. I mean, when you look up, it's Daryl Hall and John Oates. He's very clear about wanting to just kind of do his own thing, being recognized for his stuff, and and John Oates is recognized for his stuff. So I think that's kind of also where John Oates was, maybe you'll talk about later, John Oates was kind of coming from. He's made it kind of clear that he's kind of with his interests, and so this is my interest.
Right. Okay. So then he goes on, addition, this application seeks to enjoin to stop the Oates Trust from triggering any obligation on the part of the Hall Trust to match or buy as a right of first refusal the Oates Trust partnership interest, as that trigger is wrongly predicated on this unauthorized transaction. So this is pretty common, guys. You have a first right, and so you go, before you can sell, I get the opportunity to match the offer. And so he goes, I should not be forced to now have to buy his share of the company to prevent the sale because I never consented to the sale in the first place.
But if they can get around that, that's just kind of the chicken and the egg, isn't it?
What's that?
Just as far as he's like, I have to be given the opportunity to to match the offer, but now I'm being forced to match the offer. So it's like it wherever it comes from, he's still, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just wonder if John Oates ever even just went to him and just had like, you want to buy this or what? Because that wasn't ever clear either. But what was clear,
well, at least going off of this declaration, we'll see that doesn't seem to be the case. That's not what he says. But typically, before you start engaging in business discussions for a sale, before all that happens, that's when you have to get the written consent. Again, this is subject to their operating agreement and what they have in there. But there's a reason for it. If you and I are doing, a deal and you want to purchase my interest that I have in a current business, we have to do tons of due diligence. I have to show you all my financials and contracts and all this stuff. And so that's why before we actually start that whole process, written consent would typically be required. All right, so let's go back to it. So as discussed below, John Oates and the co-trustee of the Oates Trust, Amy Oates and Rick Flynn, have violated the letter and spirit of then we'll just say, the business agreement and partnership, having engaged in the unauthorized transaction completely behind my back and without my written approval. Most egregiously, they did this while we were in the middle of a mediation, addressing our disputes in connection with WOE, and in which the very specific question as to the disposition of the WOE assets, including dissolution of WOE, was being mediated. Okay, so he goes into further detail about this, but what he just said is, he did this where he's attempting to potentially do this deal. And he did this while we were in mediation and we were trying to work together. Because guys, mediation is not like, it's usually where both sides are typically like wanting to work it out and they're negotiating. So you get a mediator to help you, but it's not a formal legal proceeding like arbitration or a lawsuit. So he's basically like, we're working here in good faith to do this. And you're like doing this behind my back. So, interesting.
I think that would irk that part would irk me as well. I mean, the whole thing would irk me. You know what I mean? Like either way, like if you're with a business partner and they start doing that kind of stuff without even talking to you, of course, it's just weird because they do talk. And so, so them going through this and having that mediation and stuff for that to go on, that does seem like real behind the back and just trying to cut your legs out from underneath you.
In a completely clandestine and bad faith move in blatant violation of the WOA agreement, their operating agreement, John Oates and the Oates Trust purported to commit to selling its share of WOA for some amount of money to Primary Wave. I'm so curious what that amount is. They've redacted it, but for some amount that we don't get to know.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a freaking lot.
It's a lot.
is what they put right there. They committed this outrageous breach to prejudice me without regard to my interests and concerns, without seeking to impose upon me a partner in woe against my will. Right. So saying you're forcing me potentially to partner up with someone or some company that I don't know, without regard for how closely and inextricably tied those interests are to the rights of the Hall Trust in woe. Compounding this bad faith, John Oates and co-trustees breached the WOA agreement by sharing confidential documents and information with Primary Wave, including the terms of the WOA agreement, without my consent, and have even refused to provide my representatives with the documents and information that they turned over.
Yikes.
And like I said, when you're
how do you do that? How do you get an attorney doing that? Like for him, right? So John Oates is going through these conversations with these people. So he has attorneys that are working with him. So like attorneys know how contracts work. So if you were a client and a client came to you and go, no, I want to breach this contract. Like how do you negotiate that? Because that attorney is going to know, like, bro, I'm sure you have something in there that you can't do that. Like, what are you doing? How does that work?
Well, I know exactly what they did because he talks about it here in a minute, but they had Primary Wave sign a non-disclosure agreement. And so, this happens sometimes when there's existing contracts in place and people want to have discussions. And so they go outside the realm of the contract. It technically is a breach, but they do it sneakily by executing a non-disclosure agreement. In this case, they got caught. All right. So compounding, let's go back to this.
Greatest duo ever.
While falsely contending over the last several decades that the Oates Trust wanted to maintain ownership in WOA, John Oates and the co-trustees engaged in the ultimate partnership betrayal.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just so strong. They engaged in the ultimate partnership betrayal. They surprisingly sought to sell half of the WOA assets without obtaining my written approval. Mutual approval over the power to sell partnership assets is inarguably the most important consent in any partnership.
Yeah.
And John Oates and the co-trustees' actions are wholly contradictory, considering that they have been highly focused on my actions and challenging whether I had properly sought their consent to even the most mundane act. Man, I can't even tell you, as a litigation attorney, this kind of thing comes up so much where someone throws such a big hissy fit over something that they have done. And so, it just, they use it as an opportunity to whatever, but he's just like, why would you do this when you got all upset when apparently there was something that he did, that they got upset about. Anyway, so this recent bad faith conduct by John Oates and the Oates Trust has created tremendous upheaval, harm, and difficulty in my life, not to mention unnecessary expense and burden during a time when I'm in the middle of a tour throughout the US, West Coast, Japan, what does that say? Manila, and need to focus on and perform at top level. I believe that John Oates timed the unauthorized transaction to create the most harm to me. Respectfully, he must be stopped from this latest wrongdoing, and his malicious conduct needs to be reined in once and for all.
I don't like that. I don't like that he said to cause harm to him. I don't know if that means cause harm. Now, if you're saying he should have worded it as a tactic to distract me, maybe. I could see that, but to try to harm the guy, I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, he gets into this a little bit more about what he means. Yeah, we're at it. We're at a teacups today. Oh, what is happening with my hair? All right, we're going back to this. So, for more than 50 years, John Oates and I successfully recorded and performed music together as a duo, Daryl Hall and John Oates Ho. Throughout most of that time, we navigated the multitude of decisions and approvals required in any partnership, relatively without issue, which is really amazing. You can't working with someone for any amount of time, let alone 50 years, is
Yeah.
really an amazing accomplishment. So he goes, we've worked together relatively without any issue. We've operated in a professional, business-minded manner. We co-owned several businesses entities over the years. This application focuses specifically on Whoa. So Whoa, again, this is their big enterprise here.
All
Whoa
Enterprise.
originated as a general partnership in 2019. John Oates and I agreed to convert it to a limited liability uh, partnership. Woe owns and or holds rights to certain valuable and personal assets created over time. So, they're kind of talking about like the social media, their royalties, trademarks,
Logo.
websites. So this is all the stuff, okay, that Hall and Oates essentially, owns. Over the course of the last several years, there's been a significant shift in John Oates' behavior away from operating in a professional and business-minded manner, particularly as it relates to Woe. His behavior has become adversarial and aggressive instead of professional and courteous. He began making numerous demands upon me, among other things, the social media. He wanted trademarks and assets. He created disagreements that were brought to my door. And I like how he goes, creating disagreements brought to my door by a revolving cast of lawyers. It appears to me that John Oates' intent has become to burden and harass me without regard to my interest as his business partner or the interests of Woe. So, to your point, you're just like, is he sitting here and just being like, I'm gonna try to harm him as much as I can. I
will say, just from different interviews and just different things, Daryl Hall can be an intense guy in himself, and he's a very passionate guy in himself. Um, uh, Musical genius and a phenomenal singer. But just he can be. So I think a lot of that, John Oates obviously has his response, I'm sure you're going to share, but it's just one of those things where I think that he's also selling it, and maybe he feels that way, but it could be something like, bro's just like, I'm just trying to do a different kind of business, bro. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so,
Mine too.
where Daryl's like, "You have spent so much time and money
Yeah,
on this." He's not gonna give an exact amount, but I can tell you, I
a lot.
mean, easily, he's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and when you have big cases that actually go to trial, you're in the millions of dollars, so, I
What did he say?
mean,
Revolving lawyers or
the
whatever was it?
revolving door of lawyers, or no, the revolving cast, that was it.
Revolving
But
castle.
he's brought to my door
Yeah.
a revolving cast of lawyers, which is
So
just
expensive. That means
yeah.
expensive.
Very expensive. It appears to me that John Oates' intent has become to burden and harass me without regard to my interests. So we said that. In late 2022, John Oates unilaterally began demanding that we dissolve our touring entity, which is Two-Headed Monster Tours Incorporated, and our separate partnership related to our musical compositions and publishing, Hot Cha Music LLP. I was willing to entertain this as part of a global divorce and raise the dissolution of Woe. So again, this goes back to him saying we were talking about
About it. Yeah.
dissolving dissolving the company, and then you go behind my back and you
Right.
are doing a letter of intent
Forcing.
for the potential sale of your share. Indeed. I picked this up from the first lawyer that I worked for. She always would start this as like a conclusory. Indeed. As more disputes began to arise with respect to Woe, my counsel noticed a mediation under the Woe agreement in July 2023. And on August 17, 2023, the mediation commenced in all aspects. We were trying to basically divorce Hall & Oates, including the dissolution of Woe, which everything was on the table. In connection with Woe, throughout this process and time frame, John Oates was very combative and protective with respect to Woe, and consistently conveyed his deep desire to keep his ownership. So he goes like, this is 180 turn.
Yeah.
He was arguing to keep his ownership and that partnership intact and operative. There was never a hint that he would try to ambush me with this sale.
Well,
Mediation-
I think Daryl Hall's been very clear about his stance on not wanting to sell his music, his publishing rights or anything like that. So maybe all these years John's been just kind of going like, oh no. And he's like, you better not ever. And he's like, John's like, no, man, I want to keep him. I want to keep him. But like maybe he really did. Because Daryl Hall's, he's more of what's mine.
The mediation process has cost me a significant amount in attorney's fees, right? Joel, to your point, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, and has also taken an exorbitant amount of my time and attention. The actions described herein were brought without regard for this effort and made it necessary to bring this proceeding at this time and on an expedited basis. So, guys, remember what we're asking here. He's asking for a preliminary injunction. He's asking the court to order that this potential sale has to stop. Okay, so that's why he's giving this declaration. So now the unauthorized transaction concealed by John Oates and the Oates Trust trustees. As noted above, I'm in the middle of a long-term multi-country tour, which I began in October 26th. John Oates and the co-trustees were well aware of my schedule. It's been posted on my website for months and was discussed in the context of scheduling mediation sessions, and John Oates knows how extremely difficult it is to conduct business while touring, as one, is looking to perform in a live settings at peak and also handle a myriad of tour-related business and creative issues on the road. So, again, to the whole, he thinks that this was planned because he was specifically on tour and less able to deal with it. Nonetheless, a mere 2 days before I was scheduled to leave on tour, I received notice that the Oates Trust had entered into a letter of intent to sell its share of WOA to a Primary Wave affiliate, Primary Wave IP Investments Management, LLC. So there was a letter of intent. And guys, just so you know, the first thing that we typically do when we're talking about doing big, juicy business sales is that we'll put together letters of intent or term sheets. And so we say this is kind of what we're thinking. Here are the basic terms. And then we have conditions, and we go, for example, we need to make sure that this deal is wrapped up by 120 days or 5 months or whatever it is.
Setting the expectation.
And so it just puts everything into motion. So it's a big deal, right? If you're going to go and execute a letter of intent, it means you're trying to get this done. So he goes on, I was blindsided by this information. I have not given my required written approval for the Oates Trust to do so as is required under the operating agreement, nor would I. I have no intention of becoming partners with Primary Wave, and the Oates Trust cannot be permitted to thrust a new partner upon me in this outrageous fashion. The scant amount of paperwork provided, John Oates and the co-trustees refused to provide me with the actual documents given to Primary Wave, demonstrates that John Oates and the co-trustees intentionally hid the unauthorized transaction from me for weeks, if not for months. And while we were in mediation, the paperwork demonstrates negotiations between at least, starting on October 2, and then they did a non-disclosure agreement, which we talked about. That was signed, and then I learned of this for the first time on the 20th. So, there's a little shade happening here because there's so many people involved. There's so many attorneys. And he's like, I never knew about this. And here's the thing. He had said as part of the due diligence, they had to turn over the operating agreement. When we're doing these sales, we read the operating agreement. So everyone knew.
Everybody knew. Yeah. That's I mean, I think that's what's going to end up, because in this case, right? So at the end of the day, I mean, don't they just have to look at that and then it's just yeah, bro, this can't happen. It's in here. They can't just do it because, oh no, we already started good faith, with Primary, or I started good faith with Primary Wave. So no, it's got to happen. Well, you still breached. So and that sucks. And then my question would be to you, what would that, so now that just means that whenever, Hall & Oates wants to do a licensing deal, or, they want to do with the music or something, they want to sell to a car commercial or just something like that, that they have to now, now Daryl Hall and Primary Way have to argue about what they say yes to or what.
Yeah, because more than likely, Hall & Oates probably had designated third-party agents, right? So they have a sync licensing partner who handles all the stuff for them. So it's not like they're doing this themselves, but they had an agreement as far as who they're using, how their operation works. So as soon as you bring in someone new, like Primary Wave, and they're like, no, we're doing it now. There's so many opportunities for just a headache at best, So I understand his upset here.
Chris makes a good point. So he's adamant to keep his ownership because he was already trying to make a deal to sell. So yeah, so he was telling him the whole time, no, I want my ownership. just making it clear that I got that ownership because maybe he's planning that sale. I wonder how those initial conversations went. I wonder if it was just Primary Wave reached out to John Oates and was just like, let's just have a talk.
Probably,
And they're just like,
probably.
and his wife was like, just go have a talk with them. Just sit down with them. Just hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
One thing leads to another. And it's like, yeah, I'll sign an intent.
That's right. John Oates also knew that I was incurring legal fees to continue with the mediation during the time period that he and the Oates Trust were in negotiations with Primary Wave, including in connection with my representatives drafting the WOE dissolution documents for the consideration. So remember, they were talking about actually just dissolving the company. And then he's like, John was the one that was fighting about not to do that. They hid the Primary Wave negotiations from me and ambushed me at a time intentionally to cause me the maximum amount of harm. Now, they have forced me to spend significant monies seeking relief to prevent the travesty of them selling the partnership assets without my approval. There was no warning. This was clandestine conduct, and no information has been forthcoming from the Oates Trust since I received the notice of the unauthorized transaction. The potential of being forced into a partnership with Primary Wave without my consent is incredibly upsetting and antithetical to the intent and terms of the WOE agreement. Not to mention that there are assets developed personally in a 50-plus year partnership. Right? I see that. There's no amount of money that could compensate me for being forced to partner with an entity that I did not agree to partner with and whose business model does not comport with my views regarding the WOE assets. The harm is unimaginable. Now, I mean, could you argue?
I'm riding with
how
him
do
on
you?
that.
What are you saying?
I'm riding with Daryl on that. Like I feel him. You know what I mean? Like I think it's shitty because because of 50 years they have plus years they've been working together. John Oates doesn't necessarily have the same career that Daryl Hall has. Daryl Hall's out there all the time. He has his little shows and his channels and his things, and he's always touring. I mean, they tour together and stuff like that. I don't know, but maybe John Oates, after 50 years, maybe wants to have his own kind of plans with his own money and his rights and his assets that he wants to do. So I understand his, desire to maybe want to step outside. But I mean, I'm riding with Daryl Hall. I mean, it's in the contract on this guy.
Joel, to your question, is Primary Wave pitting them against each other for a better deal? No, I don't think so.
That's going to help.
And in fact, a buyer doesn't want there to be any kind of legal issues that they have to deal with. So this probably is hurting.
It's going to hurting
the
it
deal.
because Primary Wave is, as long as this goes on, if they can't figure this out, like they're probably going to be like, yo, like I don't want to deal with Daryl Hall. Like
that's right. Okay, so Primary Wave is a company that brands itself as having a strong focus of exploiting not only copyrights, but the trademarks, the name and likeness rights of artists. Now, he says it as it's a bad thing. Just they're in the business of making money from the stuff that they own. If Primary Wave becomes my partner, they will have ownership and an equal amount of control over, our trademarks, social media, websites, assets, including my name and likeness, which is true.
Yep.
Primary Wave will likely have a goal to use the WOE assets and my name and likeness for branding and exploitation. These are all highly personal assets. That's why that's why it is incredibly important that written approval be obtained on any transfer of those rights so as to not create turmoil in the partnership. Control over these assets, totally, is why John Oates and I agreed that our respective interests and corresponding control would not be transferred without the other's express written approval. If this transaction is allowed to proceed, it would hamstring my ability to sell the Hall Trust Partnership interest, which I thought
it was interesting to throw it in there.
It was very, very compelling because he goes, if this is allowed, they would stop me and they would veto my right to sell my stuff because now they're the partner that I have to get written consent from. So that to me, that was a pretty compelling reason.
I mean, they are such a partnership, and it's just tragic. I don't know that they'll never perform as a band again. We've seen tons of bands that have had worse arguments that still performed. They just might not ever see each other until they're kind of on stage, and and Daryl Hall's kind of looking over and Oates is on the other side of the stage or something, maybe. But a lot of money.
Right, so in closing, I'm deeply troubled by the deterioration of my relationship
Yeah.
and trust with John Oates, his and the Oates Trust actions entering into an agreement for the sale of their WOE partnership interest in breach of our partnership agreement without my written approval and while intentionally concealing it from me while we were actively engaged in mediation. He has caused me an enormous amount of distress. Without the relief requested being granted, John Oates and the Oates Trust will be forced into a sale of the WOE assets invoked. Terrible things are going to happen. All right, so we understand. So that's the request, and then what's the update? What did the court decide to do with the preliminary injunction to stop the sale?
What'd you say? I'm sorry, I was looking up a fact. What'd you just say?
Oh, I said, so what's the update? So the court,
Oh,
we
yeah.
do have an
So
update as far as what the court decided to do with the preliminary injunction.
yeah, so the judge decided, because this was, filed as of the filming of this date. This thing was filed a couple weeks ago. Again, as the filming today, their lawyers went into court to talk about, to see if they were going to extend the stop of everything, and the temporary injunction is going to continue until February 17th of next year, where they're going to be dealing with an arbitrator who has already been chosen to come up with a decision of how they're going to kind of look at this. So we have was it like about 2 months, some 2-3 months of some change, before they figure it out, before they get it kind of locked in, and we'll see where it goes even from that point.
Yeah, so there's a lot of issues that they were trying to work on through mediation. Chris, this is the reason why, even if you trust the partner completely, that you need to have these mutual protections
Absolutely.
in place in writing, because years later,
That's the point.
things can happen.
That's my
People's
point.
minds get swayed.
Do you have John Oates? His response was real short, in comparison, for sure. It's like, but just his tone of it. He's like I would never. Like, wait, what? What's going on? What?
Yeah,
But this is also interesting that I'll also note while you're looking for that Primary Wave already has some interest, or already has some of the rights from Hall & Oates Musics, because there is this sister songwriting team that are Sarah and Jana Allen, and they co-wrote Kiss on My List, or they have writing credits for Kiss on My List, Man Eater, Private Eyes, I Can't Go For That, You Make My Dreams. And they sold their catalog of 70 songs, in some of those included Hall & Oates songs. So Primary Wave already owns a portion of some of the songwritings to some of the Hall & Oates biggest songs already. So that might have been, they already got a little piece, and they got that in I don't have the date here, but I feel like it was like in 2006 that when they got those. I'm not 100% sure, but it was something like that. So they've had them for a while, so they have a
All
little
right,
taste.
and I do have the declaration of John Oates. Let's read this together. So I, John Oates, hereby declare as follows. I am tremendously disappointed that Daryl decided to file this declaration from our private arbitration in this proceeding and make inflammatory, outlandish, and inaccurate statements about me. I don't know, coming in hard.
Hot. He's coming in hot.
I'm disappointed that he decided to publicize issues that are subject to our private mediation and private arbitration from becoming, quote, adversarial and aggressive instead of professional and courteous, end quote. As Daryl has claimed, over the last 50 years, I've always devoted my energy to ensuring that both the public and the music industry perceived Hall & Oates music and brand in the most positive light.
Okay.
Unfortunately, during the course of our ongoing legal negotiations, there have been multiple instances where Daryl and I have not seen eye to eye. I nonetheless have tried my best to present opportunities to improve and protect the business and artistic integrity of our partnership. I mean, that's all nice. That's all nice.
Fine.
Come on.
He hasn't said anything yet.
You haven't said anything yet, but okay. In fact, Daryl has become unwilling to work with me to try to protect the marks and other intellectual property that we spent decades building.
Perfect. As should be.
Interesting. Daryl has become unwilling to work with me to try to protect the mark. So he's saying I'm the one that's whatever, and Daryl's being, we'll see. I am very aware of the importance and the reverence that our fans and the world have for the music that Daryl and I made together.
Absolutely.
That is why I have been working hard to protect the value of our intellectual property, to allow music lovers around the world to continue to enjoy the music of Hall& Oates. I mean, this feels like just like a
That
press
sounds like no. What I read when I saw that, what I saw from that was the fact that they just have very different ideas of how the business should be run. I think Daryl Hall is more of I don't want to just exploit and get our, whatever. I don't want to sell out, maybe a more old school mentality. I want to
Mhm.
just be really approving. I don't want to just go into a car commercial. I don't want to go into a grocery store. I don't want Fry's using it on their thing and they're dancing around to it. And and maybe John Oates' perspective is I want this getting to the new generation. I want this getting to in license and movies, and I want it to be everywhere. You don't understand. I'm trying to protect the legacy by keeping it going, not sheltering it from it. It's not necessarily a cash grab. Yes, we're going to be making money. Why shouldn't we make money? We built this. But that's honestly that's how I kind of am reading his perspective is they just have very different perspectives of how they think the business should be run and what should be done with it.
I have no idea who and what is motivating Daryl to keep these steps and make such salacious statements, but I'm deeply hurt. Over the
This
years,
part too.
Daryl has consistently and publicly been adamant about being perceived as an individual rather than as part of a duo or group.
True.
Thus, he has insisted on our being known as Daryl Hall and John Oates rather than the more commonly known Hall and Oates. And that's, if you look on Spotify right now, that's what it is. It's Daryl Hall and John Oates. On this point, I agree. I now must act with truthfulness and make decisions that are right for myself, my family, and my artistic future.
Understood.
Putting aside my disappointment, I cannot address the specific issues that Daryl raises in his declaration without violating my obligation to keep private matters that he and I agreed to keep private. Committing myself to confidentiality prohibits me from being able to discuss publicly the truth that is the agreement that I made. I can only say that Daryl's accusation that I breached our agreement, went behind his back, acted in bad faith, and the like are not true. Okay, so I have a comment on this real quick. So he's like, I can't speak to it because it's going to be public. You can file under seal. Your attorneys can come together and get a protective order into place, and you go, because filings are public record,
Yeah.
we can file things under seal so that the public is not able to see it. So I don't know. He's like, I can't speak the
That's
truth
also
because people.
that's also what a lot of people that are in the wrong. That's usually a statement that a lot of people that are in the wrong use to. They, I got plenty of information. I wish I could tell you, but unfortunately, I can't. I can't prove my innocence right now. I'm not allowed. I can't say anything. Whatever. My lawyers told me don't say anything, but trust me, I got a lot. And when it comes out, you're gonna hear the truth. And then you never hear it come out. So
Well,
I don't know.
and that might be why he lost on this. And in fact, there was an injunction put into place, and they will continue to be duking this out. But I don't know. I really felt not so much the second declaration, but I was really feeling Daryl's declaration and just hurt
Yeah, for
if
sure.
what he is describing in fact happened. I mean, it's just so tough after such a long
That's
successful
There's no
relationship
way he
to
does not
have.
feel like his heart is ripped out of his chest.
Yeah,
But both of them, they both care a lot about this project, and I
I think
definitely
so.
think,
Yeah,
and I think that they just have, kind of different perspectives of it. Just where John's just in the wrong is, they have it in agreement. If it's in the contract, it's in the contract. Now, what John could be saying, I can't tell the truth about all the stuff, is maybe when they're in their discussions right now. He's like, he did say, he's like, dude, I'm probably gonna sell it. And he's like, no, you're not. And he's like, I think I might, bro. And maybe he did say something to him, but just Daryl just didn't want to hear it. And so, he's like, I've been kind of telling you for a while, bro, that I wasn't into this anymore. I didn't want
yeah,
to the responsibility, and I just kind of want to get my 500 million, my half of the fucking thing.
for
And
sure. Look, and business relationships and partnerships break down, and so one side might, again, yes, it is a breach of the operating agreement, but you go and you're just having conversations with people, and maybe you do a letter of intent, and you're like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get it worked out with my business partner, and so it's not meant to
he's like,
be,
he's whatever into lying and
evil
trying
and
to convince Daryl to just go along with it. He's like, yeah, you know what? I'm into it. let me talk to my guy. Let me work it out with my guy.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I
like
mean?
we're in mediation.
We're
I think
talking.
we're talking about dissolving, so he'll probably be fine with this as part of the dissolution. Because again, not to paint him unfairly, but just to the extent that there's hurt on one or both sides, it's understandable.
They're both adults. They're both. I mean, they're both well into their adults. They're in their lives. They want to kind of do their own things. Their feelings, their opinions, or whatever, change or stay the same. But let's just not forget, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 80 million records worldwide, 20 studio albums together, 4 decades of touring together. I mean, like, just the amount of hits that they have and just songs that I listen to on a regular basis are, crazy. And I hope they figure this out. We'll find out in February, of course, but I really hope that they can work this out because they're too good. They're too good to have so much bad.
All right, and we'll be following this along, guys. Leave your comments down below on what do you think and whose side are you on. All right, so let's do a couple plugs, and we want to run Monster music video. This is the highlight of the month. This is the highlight of the year. But we got some things going on. Otherwise, what do we got popping?
Let's see. Let's talk about it. First of all, I want to make sure that everybody that, make sure that you have your music business right. If, there were so many years that I was in, I've been in music since I was 15 and, I really didn't get my music business stuff right until like 8-9 years ago, to be honest with you. And, for all of you that have either been in music or you're just getting into it, you need to get that free music business jumpstart training, just giving you a lay of the land of everything you need to know about, working with other artists and just stuff that you need to do. There's included a free split sheet, for things like this when you are collaborating with other artists, so you can get the business right as far as that goes, where the percentages go, who's controlling what, who's gonna release the song, whose song name is going to be under. Get all that business down. And then, of course, we have a free marketing schedule in there as well, just giving you the literal Monday through Friday what you need to be posting, what kind of content you need to be looking at, and how the order of it should be go. We're very much on, on this channel and in school and the different courses and things that we offer, about taking you through the steps in the literal order that you need to do them. So you're not like fumbling around like, oh, I got to just know all the stuff and I need to know how to implement them. Like just use it like a checklist and just go. And then also we have our weekly newsletter, which also gives you free deals, discounts, free giveaways, all kinds of stuff. And the TMA newsletter, which you can get at topmusicattorney.com/newsletter. And, of course, yeah, we do have merch, but that's not the one I was trying to pull up. We feel like stickers and all kinds of stuff. We have
A
merch.
couple of you got some t-shirts and some mugs recently, and then you sent me
a big
pictures of you
sale.
wearing it, which is great.
Yeah, no, we sold some Top Music shirts. So some of you are wearing cartoon versions of us on your shirt, and we love it, man.
It's very cute. I like it.
The last couple things I want to pull up. Here it is. Yeah, podcast. If you're into passive learning, get in your car, drive to the grocery store and learn up on, how to get better publishing deals, trademarks, learn about just marketing tips. You can listen to it on anywhere you get a podcast. But yeah, but we're talking
That's
Monster
right.
now.
That's right. It's been, to Joel's point, it has been a monster of a month. I'm so proud of this song. I'm so proud of this song. Produced by that Orko.
Yes, it's been quite a journey on this song, just from the writing of it, to the recording of it, to shooting a video for it. It was just all just very personal, all very important, and done with a lot of love and care. This is, sometimes we talk about, you don't necessarily have to spend a big budget on making a music video. You don't have to do big budget videos. We've had tons of videos that have gone viral just from the fact that we were just like in a little booth and just like one camera going here and then kind of zooming in. So you don't necessarily, but this is something that, Miss Krystle really felt passionate about and wanted to give something back to the fans and just kind of remind everybody kind of what it's all about as far as the art of getting into music and why we do it. It was a 4-day music video experience, tons of, special effects. She did all this fight choreography. She was working with fight choreographers and beating people up. And it was such a great experience. And I can't tell you how proud I am of Miss Krystle for coming up with the concepts for the video, having it executed. I just tried not to mess anything up by being in it, quite frankly.
That's right. And he is in it. Yes, we did. We really worked on it. So thank you so much. All right, guys. So without further ado, let's watch Monster. We love your faces, and we will see you next week, same time. So make sure that you are here on Top Music Attorney YouTube.
Darkness falling, all is quiet and soothing, seducing. Feel your heartbeat pounding, hunger starts growing, controlling all of my obsession. Found all this aggression, go on and taste it. You've got my blessing, burning with suspicion, deadly premonition, blazing in